Hi everyone, it's Serena here, and today I'm going to be talking you through how to contribute to your NHS pension as a Locum GP. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is going to be a really boring topic. However, I'm going to try and make it as short and snappy as I can. Now, it's a topic that I'm constantly asked about during my VTS workshops, and I'm constantly emailed about from new Locum GPs that are starting out. So I just thought, actually, I think this would be really useful, and I think it will help you guys get on top of your NHS pension stuff, make sure that you contribute to it in time, and that it will take a lot of the stress and hassle out of the whole process. So let's begin. So in order to contribute to your NHS pension, you just need three things. You need an invoice, you need your pension forms, and you need a checkbook, and that's it. So let's start with the invoices first. So when you've completed some work, you'll need to generate an invoice in order to claim money for that work. And the invoice will need certain key bits of information. Now, I generate all my invoices on mylocummanager.com, and essentially it just generates them automatically for me with all the required information. But if you did want to do it manually, here's an example of all the things that you would need. So as you can see here, you will need your name and address on the invoice, or the name of your company, the name and address of the practice, and also a date for your invoice. Each invoice is required to have a unique invoice number, and you will need to show a breakdown of the services that you are invoicing for, together with any expenses that you may be reclaiming. Now, if you're pensioning your work, you will need to add a separate item on the invoice for your employer's pension contribution. This is 14.3% of 90% of your total invoice. So as you can see here, your employer's contribution is 14.3%, and that is then added to your subtotal to give you a total amount that the practice is due to pay you. Right, so that's invoices covered. Now, in order to contribute to your pension, once you've generated an invoice, you also need to send a Form A with your invoice to the practice. So here's an example of a Form A. So there's one there, so you can see it says Form A here, and it needs some information to be completed on it. I use my Locum Manager because it will just auto-populate and calculate everything that I need, and it also signs everything with my e-signature. The practice will need to fill in a bit of information here, and they will sign and stamp it. So the purpose of this Form A is that it certifies the work that's been done at practice and also the amount that you've earned. So here's how I normally generate my Form A's with my invoices. So now, to generate my pension form, I just click this toggle here, and it will generate the form and auto-populate it for me. I don't want to print and sign it, so I just sign it with my e-signature by clicking that toggle, and now I just generate the invoice, and it will email everything directly to the practice. All done. Right, so I've received my Locum Form A back from the practice, and it's been signed and it's been stamped. And now the next stage is to generate a pension Form B. So for those of you that have not met a Form B before, here it is. So it's got some information that's needed. It's got a tiered contribution rate, and that relates to what you're going to be paying towards your pension. And then it's got the calculations box, which is going to summarise all the work you've undertaken that month, and it's going to give you a total, once you've been through the calculations, of how much you need to give to the Pension Contributions Office. Now, when completing a Form B, you generate the Form B according to the date you were paid, not the date that you worked. So if I have worked in June and I've invoiced at the end of June and I've been paid in July, my Pension Form B will be created in July. So I'm going to just show you here how I tend to create my Pension Form Bs. So as you can see here, I have been paid in the month of June, therefore I'm going to generate a pension form for June. So I click on that, I press this button, and that's it, all done. as you look here, you can see here is summarised all my earnings for that month, and it's got in this box here, you can see the grand total of the employee and employer contributions. That's here, and that's the amount I'm going to write a cheque for. You need to send off your pension forms to the primary care organisation by the 7th of the following month, or within 10 weeks of being paid for the work.
So before you send to the pensions office, here is a useful checklist. You will need to collate all your pension form A's for that month and complete your pension form B, which my Locum Manager can do for you. You need to write out a cheque for the amount specified on your form B, and then you post all your form A's with your form B and a cheque to the relevant address. Now here you can see a table for England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, which has who you need to make the cheques payable to, along with the addresses that you will post everything to. Along the bottom you can see useful links if you need further information. Just a note about England pension forms. Currently, all forms are being centralised to one address as listed on this table. However, some areas are currently changing over to this address. To work out what's happening in your local area, visit the link that's listed at the bottom of the table.
If you're working in an out-of-hours setting, or you've been locuming at the same practice for more than 6 months, you'll need to complete a GP solo form. And here is an example of a GP solo form if you've not seen one already. So it's got details that you need to fill in together with the amount, and you send this off along with a cheque to your primary care organisation. Now, I hope that's been useful and summarised quite nicely the way in which you would contribute to your NHS pension. If you want more detailed information, including how to go through the calculations yourself, then go to mylocummanager.com and go visit the resources section, and it's all there in the Locum Survival Guide. You cannot claim for your NHS pension if you work as a limited company, for any work done over 10 weeks ago, and for agency work. The exception is agency work where you're paid directly by the practice. You can't claim for your NHS pension for any private work undertaken. So I hope that was useful, and that's given you a very brief but insightful look into how to go about contributing to your NHS pension. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and if you need any further detailed information, then just go to mylocummanager.com/resources. If you've liked what you've seen today and you'd like to be kept updated with more locum information, then do subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.